Good evening, everyone. I'm Gail Schickley. Welcome to Solo Arts Heal. Tonight, presenting a special end-of-the-year show featuring two artists from the Solo Arts Heal Artist Collective, actor, dancer, and playwright Joanna Rush, and actor-author Sam Simon, and Can founder and Solo Arts Heal host Rick Davis. A warm holiday welcome to all of you. These are people of action. And Solo Arts Heal was born from action through the art of storytelling and performance at the intersection of education and advocacy about health and healing. From the start, we've worked in solidarity with our core artist collective and here on the Marsh Stream, presenting excerpts of shows that embrace the healing power of the arts over a wide range of mental, emotional, and physical challenges. And since March 2021, with Can peer-to-peer support, all presenting performance and talkbacks that offer insights and resources for our audiences. This includes the health and healing of our Mother Earth. How we treat one another and how we treat the planet is all connected. We're going to begin the evening with a reading from Sam Simon, followed by Joanna Rush, and then Rick Davis. Audience comments and questions are encouraged throughout. And please remember the tip jar that helps keep our platform thriving. Sam Simon was one of the first Solo Arts Heals guests when we began the show in April 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic. He returns to mark the end of this year, not only as a playwright and performer of his solo show, The Actual Dance, but now as author of a memoir, The Story Behind the Play, also titled The Actual Dance, Love's Ultimate Journey Through Breast Cancer. Sam describes his work with The Actual Dance as his fourth age, coming to it after a career as a prominent member of America's consumer movement, trained as a lawyer and original member of Ralph Nader's first legal advocacy group, famously Nader's Raiders, then founding a public affairs firm in Washington, D.C. His autobiographical one-act play, The Actual Dance, is a universal story inspired by his wife Susan's diagnosis with stage 3 breast cancer. It's acclaimed as transformative for audiences, now in its 8th year of performance. The original performed by Sam and an adaptation performed by Chuck Obasi, who also did a performance with us last year. You'll see a brief trailer from the play, and then hear Sam read a brief excerpt from the book, a poem, and then, yes, you get to say hello to Susan, his wife, who survives to this day. Sam and Susan celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary this year. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Sam Simon.
Thank you very much, Gail. The Actual Dance, the book. This is the preface. As you move through this book, I hope you suspend disbelief. Let go of all your assumptions and discover for yourself places of boundless love in your life. If I could, I would whisper in your ear from time to time as you make your way through these pages. I would gently assure you, yes, it's true. It exists. The places, the moments, and the love are all real. The story in every moment in this book happened. You will learn all the details of two young people who meet, fall in love, and grow up together as a married couple. This part of the story will be familiar, maybe mundane, though I hope engaging. It, though, is something else. It is a different place in time and space to which I travel seamlessly and simultaneously as I stand on the edge of abyss. The experience suggests an answer to how I came to terms with the anticipated loss of the love of my life. Susan. As my whispers would assure you, this book is not fiction. While I changed a few names to protect the privacy of a few individuals, the instances, the moments of boundary crossing, the paranormal moments are not products of the imagination. I experienced them, and I assert and I believe to my core that they were not hallucinations. This memoir stems from the actual dance, a play written in 2012 and first performed in 2013. Since then, I presented the actual dance hundreds of times at dozens of venues. With each performance, I gained new insights into my own experience of Susan's illness, which now has become this book. The story will have a familiar ring. Many books by men focus on their caregiver role for someone, perhaps a wife, husband, or friend with cancer. There are also many books about the end-of-life journey with a loved one. I believe this book is a little different. It defines a new and different role beyond and distinct from that of caregiver. The role of love partner. A love partner is a person whose heart and soul are breaking as they experience or anticipate the loss of their beloved. In this role, we are not nurses, though nurses are indispensable players in illness who do take care, give care. There are family caregivers and there are professional caregivers for people who are sick. Maybe the best way to explain this, and perhaps you will see it as you read, I am both a caregiver and love partner. How do you hold the one you love most in this world as they take their last breath? And how do you help a wife as she becomes sick to her stomach, or when her care requires that you give her a daily injection? Through this journey, I came to understand that love, as I use that word, is about a spiritual connection with someone, another human being. It consists of knitting together over time the essence of two individuals into a singular spiritual entity. One might argue, and I do, that this essence is part of a shared soul. Death rends us apart. To be clear, Susan did not die. I do not know what the experience will be like if she predeceases me. I still consider that possibility my worst fear. What I do know is what it feels like for that to almost happen, to await what seemed like an inevitability, to screw up my courage, to do the unthinkable and hold Susan as she takes her last breath. In anticipation of that precise moment, I crossed the boundary of the known, into an ecstatic place that contained all the pieces needed for me to hold her and grant her the peace and knowledge of infinite love as she transitioned into the unknown. My goal in telling this story is that you too might discover, when that time comes, the gift and privilege of being a love partner. And now a poem. Us. Life exists within each of us as a form of the divine, a tangible essence of who we are. Love. Love is when our essence becomes entwined, each an equal half of the other. I love you simply awakens the us in you and me. And now let me introduce to you Susan. And it is our 55th year of marriage. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. And hello, Susan. Thank you, Sam. So lovely to see you. Happy 55th anniversary this year.
Thank you.
It's such an important topic, caregiving, especially as we, for a man. So many caregivers are women, and more and more I see men as caregivers. And since knowing you and seeing your beautiful show, Sam, I really appreciate the empowerment that is being given to men, and the encouragement and also the education about caregiving, because it's a real skill and it's something that's done with love, whether you are an immediate partner or taking care of somebody in a home. I myself had a husband who died, and I took care of him for 4 years when our son was very young. And it's amazing job, and there's a lot of good help out there. Tell us more about how you came to get into the caregiving and in your role when you were doing it. I know your show talks about it.
Well, just I want to say briefly in our limited time, obviously you have to be. So it happened. Illness happened, and during this particular time in our history, I think everybody sort of holds their breath when somebody might be getting sick. Is it COVID? Is it not? And certainly earlier on, and even now that's true, but not as intensely. And so, the story that is in the book and in the play is our unique experience. Everyone's experience is unique. And I think the one thing that I'll mention, because it's something I have to think, I said it in the preface, I do continue to learn every day. And I say, even today, every day I do this and I work on this, a new insight, a new thought. And I was working on something recently. I've told this to Susan, that what I didn't understand is, why did it take me about 10 to 11 years? Her illness was 2000. The active treatment was around 2000 to 2002, before she seemed to be on a solid glide, and was dismissed in around 2010. And it was several years later and it was like, why didn't, people asked, did you know that was happening? What did you think? I needed to, Susan, she can say it, demanded a positive environment around herself. Everybody thought it was fatal or was inevitable, terminal. And she was determined and she wanted no negativity. So we're married 34 years.
That's important.
So we were married 34 years. And I immediately went to the opposite end. Her mother has died from breast cancer. My mother died from breast cancer. I immediately was positive. It's in the show, it's in the book. She's not going to survive this. Nobody we know, both our mothers died. They had been, at least my mother had told she was fine. Right? So I went there. So how do I hide a core belief from someone who knows me so well
Mm-hmm.
I understood that I had to push it so deep inside of me.
Right.
And I want to credit theater brought it out.
Right.
That without theater, without improv, I don't know how, maybe it would have inevitably, but I began getting trained in improv and doing theater as a hobby and as a professional development. And it was through that process. So that was
wonderful. And a positive attitude makes a difference to all of us. And Susan, I understand you learned about this play in an unusual way. Tell us about that.
On a train trip to New York, where he was going to do his first reading of the play. And I knew he had been working on a play. I, because of work commitments, was only going up for the weekend and being with him, meeting our friends. And he was doing it on the Monday night because I was back at work. So I got to read the play on the train.
Well, the jig was up and I knew she would, because our friends knew what it was, but everybody but Sue, I was afraid she wouldn't let me, and you can call me a coward. I was sort of afraid she didn't want it. And, I don't know whether I don't think I intended to trap her. See, I don't even know yet.
You didn't give her a whole lot of notice, but it went on 8 years. You've done hundreds of performances at this point.
Right. There's no keeping any more secrets.
But I will say one other thing, and this is, it was on one of our anniversaries, and we were going to go to New York, and I said, Susan, let's do the play, and then we'll go someplace. And it made her cry. And when I say made her cry, she didn't want to tell me no. And it is an interesting thing. She is a partner. She's there all the time. But she wants celebrations to be positive and about the positive. And as much as I think we appreciate the gift of the show to the audience, that on a very personal level, it was a difficult time. But it's hard. And I didn't understand that for a while.
Well, I thank you both so much that you have shared this, because it's an important play and subject, and the idea of caregiving, but also all the things that you bring up, the importance of positivity and being love partners. I love that. It's a beautiful way to express it. So I thank you both so much for being here.
Boy.
Okay, thank you.
Gail, I do want to acknowledge Solo Arts Heal, just real briefly, and thank you and thank everybody. As you have said, arts and healing. And we talked about this briefly, and we never came to a conclusion, but I'm going to do it. I'm going through another journey, and this year I learned something about myself, and I still do the play with the diagnosis of early stage Alzheimer's. And I just saw Tony Bennett sing with advanced Alzheimer's, and I think theater and music is his journey showed. And as I think the gift of performance and participation enables me to continue much longer and much healthier, even at this stage. So the importance of I tell that in part about it because it's so important to have Solo Arts Heal and have everybody have an opportunity through music and art and theater to be creative and to present. So thank you for that.
Sam, I thank you so much for presenting that and disclosing that about early onset of Alzheimer's. I think that's something, many people face, and, that's what we need, more peer-to-peer support. That's something we can talk maybe more with Ann about, because it's very common, and it's something that we're all grappling with as we age. And I really appreciate you bringing that up. And arts do help heal as we all work together and make it better. I also think of the Glenn Campbell movie, if you haven't seen that. I'm Not Going to Miss You, which is very, very moving because he went on a tour when he had Alzheimer's and did this incredible tour of his music because he knew exactly how to do his music, just as you would know how to do your play, but you might not remember what you had for lunch, you know? So
Well, breakfast.
thank you, Sam. Thank you so much. I want to bring into this Joanna Rush. Joanna Rush, there's so much to say about her. I won't say it all, but she is this beautiful dancer, former Rockette, author, playwright, actor, and interfaith minister. And her writing credits include Asking for It, which later became Kick and nominated for an Off-Broadway award, appearances at the Lincoln Center, Peter J. Sharp Theater at Playwrights Horizons, and in New York City and the Boston area. She was chosen to perform sections of the play for International Women's Day, sponsored by the United Nations Council on the Empowerment of Women and the Hunger Project. So much that Joanna has done. This play Kick, and also Sex and Power, about the importance of our relationships. And we can talk more about that as we go. But she has an amazing background as an actor on and off Broadway, including Shirley MacLaine at the Palace and the Chorus Line, and in film and television. In fact, recently we all enjoyed a little piece that was posted, I think, on Facebook, of her doing a very funny piece on Archie Bunker's Place. So tonight, Joanna is here to do a monologue. Dreammaker 2020 is a monologue by Ellen Davis Sullivan about a woman named Janet who's always been a control freak. But the pandemic has her feeling like everything's out of control, especially her dreams. She realizes she needs help, and so she makes her first ever appointment for therapy. It's 2020, and her appointment is a video call.
It's the dreams. They keep me from sleeping. I mean, I sleep or I wouldn't be dreaming, but I don't rest. The worst was Tuesday. I almost called you, but since we've never met and I've never done this before, I didn't want you to think I was a total lunatic. But these dreams are driving me nuts. The first one, I remember I'm in a room with a man who's partly Greg, that's my husband, and partly my dad. Now, don't go all Dr. Freud on me that my husband and my father are the same guy. You know how people are in dreams. Anyway, he's holding a shotgun. Not that either of them have ever fired a shotgun. I know he's going to shoot himself, but he shuts the concrete door between us. I shove, but I can't open it. I feel gut punched, overcome with a bleak sense of abandonment. I know I'll feel this forever after he takes his life. But before I can cry out, even before there's a shot, I tumble away to a conference. I'm carrying a suitcase, but it's empty. This is straight out of our trip to Florida, our last trip before the shutdown. I was obsessed with trying to buy wipes and hand sanitizer, but I couldn't find either. So I made a spray out of vinegar and alcohol from a recipe online. I had a couple of plastic bottles, the 3-ounce kind TSA lets you use. I spritzed every place we might touch near our seats before we took off, and every doorknob and light switch in our room after we checked in. When I opened my suitcase, I saw I didn't pack underwear. Not in a dream, in Florida. I do want to talk about my dreams, but you need to know who I am, how I'm ready for anything. Well, almost anything. I had piled bras and socks next to my suitcase on the bed in the spare room a week before we left, organizing. The day before the trip, I was so frazzled, still debating whether we should go. It was March 9th. By then, people knew. I mean, we didn't know exactly, but we knew it was bad. I was so distracted, I didn't look at the underwear pile. I just shoved them in. This left me facing 7 days with the pair I was wearing, the pair I packed in my carry-on case in case the airline lost my luggage, and the bottom of a two-piece bathing suit which fit snugly, if uncomfortably, under shorts. By day 2, I went online and ordered 6 pair of my usual brand, paying an outrageous overnight delivery charge. Well, but that saved me from having to drag Greg to the nearest mall 40 minutes away. Plus, I could tell from the size 40 double D model leaning over to expose her boobs on the website, they weren't likely to carry the old lady briefs I wear for complete coverage and lack of skin irritating lace. No thongs for me. I know. I know the dreams. But there's more about the trip. My overnight order didn't show up until day 4. By then, I've used the powdered laundry detergent I always have in my carry-on to rinse out the pair I wore on day 1. You see what I'm like? I'm prepared, which is why not packing underwear is not me. At my uncle's funeral, a cousin slit his finger on the shovel we used to throw dirt on the coffin. He was shocked that I had a Band-Aid in my purse. I didn't have one Band-Aid. I had a dozen. I also had a box of cough drops, a package of Q-tips, and a 32 function Swiss Army knife. Well, who doesn't? Oh, the second dream. Of course there's more. I'm standing outside the conference hotel, but it's the front of the office building I worked in for years. Big stone structure covering a city block designed to suggest Greco-Roman old world Europe, been here forever, confidence in its ability to last. I ride up a short outdoor escalator only to find that the remaining stairs rotate as if they're a giant blade of a farm plow chewing up the earth. I'm propelled through the revolving door into space. There's no building, only a false front. I'm dizzily spinning when I wake up. It's 3 a.m. I'm too agitated to sleep, so I take an extra strength Tylenol PM. Greg gave me the bottle when he stopped needing them after his knee surgery. Either because the pills expired in June of last year, or because my fear of being back in a dream is stronger than the Tylenol PM, my brain refuses to shut off. I roll from side to side, in between lying on my back, which is comfortable, but I can only doze. Sleep's like sex that way. It really only happens in certain positions. When the dog whimpers at 6:45, I startle. I have a clear picture of where I've been. In a hall where a presidential debate is happening. The White House occupant calls his opponent, well, it's a compound word. The first word starts with N. I won't say it. The second word is lover. Everyone's stunned. But because the debate is being televised, that word was bleeped. So only the people in the hall heard it. Was this a dream? Or was I only drowsing and wishing it would happen? If it's my wish, why am I so frustrated when the moderators turn back to the occupant and he denies ever using the word? They have no way to force him to admit it because they refuse to say the word. I'm awake, but I'm exhausted. I need rest. But tired as I am, I'm afraid to let myself fall asleep, afraid to be panicked and alarmed night after night after night. I want to shut off my dream maker, but I can't control it. No, I don't want sleeping pills. Do you have pills that blot out dreams? The worst was the night I dreamed I was marrying Kanye West, or a guy who's partly Kanye and partly my college roommate's husband. I'm reluctant to go through with it because I still love Greg, And Kanye is infected with a disease, though it's not clear whether it's COVID or HIV. My stress level is beyond belief. A crowd is crammed outside waiting to attend the ceremony, but only 15 are allowed in at a time, and we have to wait for other weddings to finish. My college roommate comes to see me. Even though I don't have my wedding dress on yet, she asks, when will it start? Why did you pick this place? Don't you see everyone's ready? I'm devastated. Instead of feeling for me, she's judging me, and I failed. I can't make these other events go faster. Why can't you see I'm doing my best? That's what friends do. Of course, I am about to marry her husband, so there's that. Then Kanye's strewing small, pale flower petals. Or maybe they're moths all around the room. That's when I woke up, and I knew I needed you. Even though I always thought only losers have to pay for someone to listen to them. I don't want to dream anymore. I need to sleep. No more dreams. Help me. You gotta help me. Thank you. Scene.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That was
Ellen.
marvelous.
Thank you. Thank you.
How did you come upon this?
Ellen Davis Sullivan is in my playwriting group, and I'm involved in it. I'm writing a new piece that has taken up every cell in my brain. And I just said, do you have a monologue? And I told her it was about healing, and we all need to heal from this time that we're in, So Ellen did, and I'm so grateful to her and my
It's
playwriting
wonderful.
group. Yeah.
Absolutely. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think about you. You've done a lot of, serious and comedy. I'm so admiring of the deep subjects that you have tackled, having to do with rape and violence, and yet making it so human and understanding, and also announcing at one point you were writing a play about death, a comedy. So.
Yeah. I'm working on it, but I put it aside because I have this other project. And but you know what, something came up for me during Sam's presentation, because about caregiving, and yeah, anyway, a story that came up while I was writing about death, because in 1987, between Christmas Day and Valentine's Day, 9 of my friends died. And shortly after that, and it kept happening because I'm in theater and all of my friends. And there, it was caregiving of each other. But I volunteered at the Actors Fund to become an AIDS buddy. And I was assigned an opera singer, and he had a lot of friends. And before I met him, I said to the project director, do you think, this is like, will I be an intrusion coming into his life when, all of his friends have been handling this? And, and the man said, it's perfect. It's a really good thing to bring new life and new conversation and new ideas and, and all of that. So I went and I met Scott, and they had moved him into a small apartment that the fund had for people. It was near the hospital, and I would take him to his visits and advocate for him and everything. And when I first walked into his house, I was, because I knew he was disappointed. He moved from a big apartment into this little, very lovely but very small space. So I was careful to compliment him on his artwork and all of this. And we're sitting there talking, and he said, see that on my coffee table? I looked down, and I didn't at first know what it was. And he goes, that's my Grammy. He won a Grammy for Candide.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was amazing, and we got very close. And when Sam was saying love partner, I was sitting next to Scott on his bed. We had come back from a hospital visit, and we were sitting there, and this soul connection happened, and I said to him, "Do you want a massage?" And he just went, "Yes." And I get massages, but I don't give massages. And he had lesions, and a few things went through my head, but even like it hardly even took a second. My hand just went right over, and I started just to touch him. And it was so deep and so special. I mean,
Mhm.
in my life, it was like a special experience. So Sam made me think of that. And Beverly Sills sang at his memorial service, and it was all opera and all just so beautiful. And I think, and his parents thought I was his girlfriend. He told them that he was gay, but they thought that just meant happy.
Oh, really? Yeah, yeah. It's a denial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a beautiful story, because especially, early on in AIDS and HIV, people didn't want to touch anybody, just like we had it with COVID in the beginning. I mean, even now, the social distancing and not touching and the masking and all the rest that we're living with right now, and the fear that
yeah,
people had, and our hands are chapped from, the sanitizers. Yeah.
yeah. And also that he had, being touched with gloves all the time and not having human contact.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up. Thank you. Thanks for that story.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I'd like us all to be able to kind of be seen, and I'd love to bring Rick Davis in on this. We're going to see a little a short video about this, but I want to say that Rick Davis, who is a serial social entrepreneur with a background in finance, real estate, and nonprofits. And in 2010, he recognized the value of peer-led support groups, although their availability was limited by several factors: geographical, physical, and social. But virtual support groups have kind of resolved many of these constraints. And Rick, you started down a path that's led you to some nationally recognized patient advocate. I know you live in Southern Arizona, and we're going to learn a little bit about ANCAN's vision to provide this accessible virtual real-time audiovisual peer-to-peer support that is so important. It was so important to me when with talking to people when my husband was sick, because we learn so much from peers that, are working with different doctors in different institutions. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. Should we roll the little clip? Mind you, I must say before we start, I'm not sure you really want to talk to me. I'd rather go back to listening to more about Sam and Joanna. I'm having a great time here.
I'm so glad you're here. Rick has been hosting these ANCAN shows since March last year, and the shows are wonderful. And maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the people that have been on. But let's roll the clip, Brianna, sure, and hope that we don't lose a connection here.
ANCAN, formerly known as Answer Cancer Foundation, is a 501c3 nonprofit, originally based in Minnesota but now based in Arizona. ANCAN began with just one online video support call for men with high risk, recurrence, and advanced prostate cancer, but has expanded quite a bit since then. We now host a number of online virtual support group calls, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about them. ANCAN's vision is to provide an easily accessible virtual real-time audiovisual peer-to-peer support group platform for a number of serious diseases and conditions. I dare you to say that 3 times. ANCAN was the first to offer such a platform long before COVID, and currently offers over 20 virtual groups monthly. If you're interested in any of the groups I'm about to describe, please go to www.ancan.org and sign up for any that interest you so you can receive notifications of upcoming meetings. You can access our online support groups on a drop-in and free basis via your computer, your mobile device, or your telephone. Everyone is welcome.
So I have to give total and full credit to Jake Hannum, who prepared that, and who we've been supporting now for 8 years, 9 years, diagnosed with prostate cancer that metastasized, and Jake is hanging on. He's still with us, and it was his idea to make this. And I will also say about ANCAN and about Solo Arts Heal that it's not what I'm doing. It's what our 70 odd volunteers are doing. People like Jake, we couldn't do it without them.
Mm-hmm. And people like Sam and Joanna in our Solo Arts Heal group, and
Absolutely.
And with thanks to the Marsh and the Marsh Stream for offering, having us offer these shows,
Absolutely.
especially in this time that's been so difficult for us all.
Well, I'm not sure if you even know this, Gail, but we found the Marsh through someone else we supported, through a gentleman who we lost, who had prostate cancer, and his wife Gail was on the Marsh Stream board, and I was asked to give a eulogy, and Stephanie was in the audience, and we talked a little bit afterwards, and she took my card, and then I heard from her about 2 years later, and we gave her some support, and then it's segued into what we're doing right now.
It's excellent. Well, I must say, Stephanie Wiseman, the founder and artistic director and executive director of the Marsh Theaters, that has been running so many years, supporting solo performance and other unique performances, is just a real treasure in the Bay Area. So we're very grateful for her and for the Marsh.
Agreed.
And the others, Sam, please join us, and Joanna. I so appreciate you being here and talking about these important issues. Last week on ANCAN, I'm sorry, I forget the name of your guest, but had a series of films. He was a co-founder of Substance, is it?
Yes, Alex Kaplan.
Alex Kaplan. Tell us a little about that.
Well, Alex Kaplan came to us through an earlier guest, Michael Behovsky, who lives with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a syndrome that leaves you living with very loose muscles around your joints, so you become double jointed, and it's very easy to dislocate. I guess it would be very helpful if you were a dancer. Well, Michael actually, I don't know if he's a dancer, but he is a musical. He is what do you call it? Music. He was trained in musicals. He writes musicals, and what do you call that? Help me, Joanna.
A composer?
A composer.
Oh, yes.
A choreographer? You mean a choreographer?
That's right.
Yeah, well, he does
Composer.
everything. I don't know. He does a little bit of everything. You can look him up online.
Oh.
He sings, he dances, he writes musicals. He's great. And he said to us, I've got this friend of mine, and I've known him a long time. And he started this Of Addiction. And Of Addiction is a nonprofit that makes movies, shorts around addiction, and is using those shorts together with a text they're soon about to publish to try and treat people with all kinds of addiction. And he had known him a long time because they were in grade school together. So they go back, they're both from Philadelphia, and they go back forever. And And so that's how we came across Alex Kaplan.
That's
And
lovely.
Michael Arthur.
And to our audience, I'll say you can see this in posted on the Marstream YouTube channel. It was from December 24th, and once a month you've had some really terrific guests.
Yeah. I have to give an enormous shout out to John Ivory. I shouldn't really use his real name because I have to tell you that he was our very first performer using his stage name, Jackson Nogal. And but Jackson Nogal, aka John Ivory, has done an amazing job. Another one of our sterling volunteers, producing all these shows, coordinating with the guests, seeking out the guests, coordinating the guests, working with Kristen and Brianna at the Marsh, who have been fantastic. So, I mean, all I do is show up on the night and talk a little bit. It's easy.
Well, you're
Go
lovely.
ahead, Sam. Go ahead.
So, well, no, yes. What I found about the arts and found about this process, and then finding it again, is that, I put my hand up? I don't know if I didn't mean to put up my hand. Look at that.
That's what you got called on.
I thought about all of this is how, particularly the support groups, but even the art and theater, serious disease. I'm going to have two thoughts. One is that when serious disease, whether it's potentially fatal or life-altering, are usually a first-time thing for families or people, and people are lost. So the necessity for having guideposts, which usually come from people who've already been through an experience, and they're all unique though. So there isn't like a straight line how to deal with it. Every journey will be unique, and so as many different perspectives that you can see. I always, later in life now, and a little bit behind this, I tend to joke with Susan that, it was like raising a kid. We didn't know how to raise children. And, you stumble, particularly teenagers. And
it's an on-the-job kind of,
Well, but then the stakes
learning.
But the stakes get so high. I will say, a couple of things. And the other thing I found, so it's the role of the art in doing this and the ability to express it. And there is an artistic nature of each of our journeys and how we do it. It's important, for people, for caregivers to be in groups, for the person with the disease themselves to be in it and do it. And we all hear various, I guess I want to say, that anybody can find that way. It isn't just for the famous people who might find a way to sing or dance or play the piano or do all of the things together.
Well, that's why it's so wonderful to have something like ANCAN, because this peer-to-peer, it meant so much to me when my husband was ill, because we learned so much from other patients, other people that are suffering from the same disease or the same, problem.
I think one of the things that we've come to realize is that the most valuable knowledge that you can find anywhere in your journey living with any type of condition is peer knowledge. Yes, the doctor's going to help you, the doctor's going to guide you, the doctor's going to tell you, but the doctor's not going to tell you if that treatment is the best available treatment. It's the best available treatment that he can offer you that he knows about.
Right.
But very often there are better treatments. And if you challenge the doctor, you'll find that better treatment. But how do you know to challenge the doctor? Who's going to tell you to challenge the doctor? Because we in our culture we spoke about this yesterday, we tend to put doctors on pedestals. And some doctors like to sit on pedestals, others do not. And so it's only your peers that are going to say to you, well, ask the doctor about this, ask the doctor about that. When I did this, this is what happened to me. Oh, I had that treatment, but it didn't work because. And you're not going to hear that.
Right.
I mean, we ran a group yesterday, and there was information divulged in that group that you're never going to hear anywhere.
No, so I want to turn that around on its head just a little bit. It's not even turn on its head. An early show and the most emotional shows I ever had, and was hosted at the University of Virginia School of Medicine, the breast imaging department, and Dr. Jennifer Harvey, who is well-known breast imaging, she headed the department and seen my show and was moved by it. She asked me to perform at a conference. She came out after the performance in complete tears, and she said something I'll never forget. She told this to a room full of doctors, oncologists, and breast imagers, and breast techs, and whatever. She said, we will tell people over and over again that they have cancer. They will remember it, that moment, for the rest of their lives. They'll know what the light looked like, what the room smelled like, where they were sitting, what was on the desk. In 5 days or less, we won't remember that moment because we're doing it over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so reaching out and including the medical community, or I love when I do it. I've done it at Sloan, I've done it at Hopkins and MedStar and other medical. I found that medical, at least from my story and the story from the patient's mouth or the caregiver's mouth, is revelatory for them because they don't, there's an empathetic other side to it. By the way, there's also another book, by the way. There's also a book that How to Talk to Your Doctor that offered the following advice, Rick. You end every session with, what else could it be? Or what else could we do? Which is a validation of your point.
Right. Very good.
Or if it's not that, or what else might it be? I've adopted.
There also are people out there that we used as we had a particular doctor at UCSF who is quite remarkable, who does research for your, he takes you on because he's in big demand. He does research of your case, and he'll tell you everything happening in clinical trials around the world, and really research deep into the case to let you know the options that your doctor in your particular institution might not know, because they're not reaching out to, they do as much as they can, of course, but there's always more to be known. And I really believe it made a big difference in terms of how long my husband lived. And Joanna, I wanted to say to you, I'm so admiring of you, because one thing, we didn't really speak about it so specifically, but with your shows that are so moving and beautiful and dealing with, and when I first met you, when you were doing a show having to do with gang rape and how to heal the sorry state of sexual affairs between men and women in this country and in the world. I applaud you for bringing that out, and it made me less afraid to even, talk about this, because, as we grow up, those are things that, at least for older women as myself, you didn't talk about, and women were always blamed. Women were blamed.
Yes.
So it was shame and the associated with a rape when it was nothing to do with anything the woman did. And that has really turned around on its head in recent years. And you've been a big part of that in terms of KIC, and telling your own experiences of how this happened, but in a way that makes us all realize we're all part of this, having to heal this state of affairs that we've come to.
Yeah, and when I first started doing it, which was way before me too, and people weren't speaking out about it, I would get comments after about how brave I was, and then I thought, oh my God, what have I done? What have I said? Because when you're writing it and you're into the characters and everything, you're not thinking. I wasn't thinking about. I don't know. Although I did wait until my parents had passed before I did it. I just never would want them to think that, I went through that. It just,
of course,
just would have killed them. So I did wait. But today, Ghislaine Maxwell was convicted on 5 counts of sex trafficking of children, which that's the Jeffrey Epstein partner. It just happened a few hours ago.
I'm glad to hear that she was convicted. The sex
it's
trafficking
amazing.
Is what
to get a conviction.
Yeah. Is it? Yeah. It's like a $9 billion business. I don't know the figures because I remember we talked about it in a previous show, but it's an amazing figure as a business, sex trafficking in the world, human trafficking.
Yeah.
Just the most horrid thing.
And these were 14-year-olds.
Pardon?
These were 14-year-olds when they were abused and trafficked.
We're becoming more aware of it now, and here in the Bay Area, and I think it's probably true in New York and a lot of places, on buses and in public places, there are signs now that tell you what to look for. If you notice these things in someone on the bus, they may be a victim. So look for these signs. And it's educating the public, starting to educate the public about.
That is great.
Yeah.
And the prosecutors, they often wouldn't take cases like that. A case like about people who are abused as children. Then they would have to fight. The defense would say, well, they really don't remember, and it was just real. There were difficult cases to take on. So this was kind of a breakthrough case, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to Stephanie.
I'm so appreciative of you all being here and really grateful for your work. And Rick, I will look forward to seeing more of your shows in the coming year. Anything you want to mention coming up?
You're taking me aback. Frankly, I don't know. Why don't I know? Because I have a wonderful producer.
Very good. Well, me
takes
too.
care of the schedule and tells me a month or two in advance. We do have a caregiver coming up. We have a caregiver who is a fantastic pianist, also plays with her daughter, and who lost her husband last year. And we supported her. She lives in upstate New York. She's going to make a wonderful show, and we're going to focus on caregiving with her.
Well, that's terrific. I look forward to that. And Sam Simon, loved your book as your show. Thank you so much. And Joanna, always so grateful for you. Thanks for sharing beautiful, good work with us. Art does heal. So look for more at their websites posted in our chat and on the Marshstream YouTube platform at themarsh.org. And next month, again, we'll be back with more shows. So it's time to say thanks again to our guests and Marshstream producer Brianna Caver, artistic director Stephanie Wiseman, and always to our Zoom and YouTube audiences. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Until we meet again.
Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Goodbye.
Bye.
How do I describe my journey with
your mother who takes care of you, who takes you to the doctor when you're sick? Your mother.
Good morning, New York. Buenos dias. It's me. What's up? we went out for lunch at a sushi place where she tried sushi for the first time and she liked it.
I see that change can happen. I know things can shift and change for good.
I am dizzily dazzled with stars in my eyes.
Same level as I broke my neck. But he's not getting the same return of function I am.
And I don't want any of your smart aleck sex talk that I usually get when I get.
This is beyond the marsh because what you're doing is planting beautiful seeds for artists to grow.